I want to illustrate this for you in the example. I will skip the part of the talk related to cloud portability. This is more DevOps centric, and I think you guys are interested at a little higher level. But if you're interested in the nitty-gritty of how to make it work, just shoot me an email. Here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to take a look at an application that is sitting on top of this in-stream processor that I've described, that is running on Amazon live right now. And what it's doing is performing real-time sentiment analytics of new movies and trying to build models of what people think about the movies, right, and make sense out of it. We call that demo Data Science Kitchen. The idea is to provide a basic example and really teach people how do you go about writing models. So we give you the training sets. We give you the dictionaries. We give you the training modules. We explain why we chose that training module versus some other training modules. We give you source code for everything. If you want to try, you can go run the model, change one model to another model, and see how it works. Everything is documented in our technical blog. If you go to blog.griddynamics.com, there is a 7-part series on in-stream processing blueprint. There is a 7-part series in Data Kitchen, and so everything is kind of written there. How does application work? Essentially, as a customer, somebody who's playing with the demo, you can pick the movies. We have some newer movies. The screenshot is somewhat old. But anyways, you have sort of the movies that are coming in. You see when they have been released or added. You could see the actual tweets as they are coming in. And then you could see models. Anything above is positive tweet. The model score it as thumbs up. Anything below is a negative tweet, and the model scored it like this. Now the length up shows the number of tweets. So you could see that a lot more people think positively about this movie than negatively. Now, when we started looking at the data, we realized that not all tweets are born the same. There are some people who are much more influential than others. And of course, the sentiment of the influential person means a lot more than the sentiment of non-influential. How do you know? The easiest way is to look for a number of followers. Somebody who has lots of followers is very influential. Somebody who has little is not so influential. So we actually, 3 different colors represent degrees of influence. Somebody who has more than 5,000 followers, somebody who has less than 500, and in between. So you often see correlations, but sometimes you don't. You see that people who sort of don't matter think this way, but small number of people who do matter thinks that way. And it's important, right, to trying to understand public sentiment. We have these different things in a way you can try to make sense out of data. This is over time, right? So you can look at historical data, and then you can look at real time, what happens in the last hour or 60 seconds or something. And of course, you always look for patterns. And anytime you see a spike, you go, what happened? Right? That's what you actually want to know. Whenever there is an anomaly, you want to try to explain why that anomaly happened. And sometimes you look at it as bubbles, and sometimes you look at it this way and another way. But here are some examples of how you make sense out of data. So this is, and you can compare things side by side. So this is a screenshot comparing Star Wars and Suicide Squad several months ago, in the beginning of whatever, the beginning of the year, right? So this is Star Wars. This is Spike, which all of a sudden you see both positive and negative. End of 2016, what happened? Who can tell me what happened here?
I did not watch it.
They plan to come up with a new one?
Carrie Fisher died.
Okay, yeah.
Right, Carrie Fisher died. And you can see a lot of positive tweets, and you go, why is it positive? Well, because there is a lot of positive connotation, right? You know, let the force always be with you, Carrie. But there's a lot of negative. Why? Of course, references to death and sadness and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
End of January, big positive spike. What happened with Star Wars in January? Younger guys might know. New release, right? They announced the trailer for a new movie came out. This is Suicide Squad. Beginning of March, early February. Anybody has guesses why all of a sudden? There's some negativity, but mostly positive.
Right.
It's Oscar night. They were nominated. But what's interesting is that there's absolutely nothing here. Star Wars were not nominated for anything that Oscar night. So there's not even a glimpse there, right? I can show it to you in real time. So let me get my...
It would be interesting to see some analysis on president's tweets.
We did that. So the interesting thing was, side story, is that we've designed this to be for Twitter analytics, right? And it's a very small, single virtual machine. It's actually tells you how incredibly scalable the systems are. And this is a free Twitter API as well, so we're not getting, that much data through it. And then on the election night, our engineer put it together, just out of curiosity. Instead of Star Wars versus this, puts Trump versus Clinton. What kind of volume did he get? He got something like 30 million tweets
Probably a meltdown.
in like 60 seconds. He didn't even flinch. He didn't even flinch. The system just did not care. Actually, the systems are remarkably resilient. They're built for massive volumes. But again, it's a tiny thing running in a single virtual machine. But it was kind of, interesting experiment to run. Anyways, what I want to do, I prepared it somewhere, and it's the last thing that I'll... Great, so let's do this. All right. Right, so I'll publish the URL here for you. So this is open on the internet. It's running somewhere on AWS. This is modern, right? This is Wonder Woman. And this is a clock of our server. So our server thinks that it's 6 o'clock. So this is the data for the last 40 minutes or so. As you can see, there's actually a lot more negative tweets about Wonder Woman than positive. And because you have tweets, it's kind of interesting. You can link one as to see, and you can debug and think, why did the algorithm think that this is positive versus negative? I bet it took them ages to find the one bad tweet that isn't about her being a Zionist. So that's actually clearly negative. So, it's a good thing that it classified it as negative. Yet something, so this was deemed as positive, and so forth. I can play with it a little bit. And I could say, okay, why don't you show me which one? What do you want to see?
Blade Runner.
Which one?
Blade Runner one.
Blade Runner. Let's see what people think about Blade Runners. So you get historical sentiments, right? Because we have them right away. But as you can see, it's actually not terribly active. We are not seeing any tweets that are popping up right that second. That's actually fairly unusual.
That's because it's coming out like this weekend.
Yes. We did some analysis. There's some very interesting spiky behavior. Let's pick something else. Let's pick, I don't know. Oh, something came up. Okay. So let's pick something else. That's a little controversial, right? We have a lot of ups and downs. Anyways, we'll come back to it in a second. Let's go try to scroll it. So see how we are spiking? It's always interesting investigation, right? You pick up a spike and you go, what happened? But of course, if you're a real brand, for me, for us, it's a fun thing to do. For brands, it's not fun. The minute you are starting to notice spike going down, you want to know immediately what's happening right now. Why is the negative sentiment about your brand? Do you need to react against this? Do you need to run more promotions, right? Do you need to somehow compensate for it?
It would be interesting to see the Samsung 7.
Of course, you can do it on products and you can do it on other things.
Yeah.
You could do comparisons and try to see for exactly the same time period how different movies compare. In any case, there doesn't seem to be a lot of happening in the Dark Tower either. I don't know if anybody cares about Star Wars at this point in time. I'll see. few seconds ago, there's more fan base in the Star Wars than the other movies. Ooh, look at this. Look at this. And all extremely positive, right?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
This visualization, which language do you use?
So here is, let me now tell you quickly how this runs.
Mhm.
So we have Twitter APIs that are deployed as a Docker service, which are generating events that are feeding Kafka, right? Back to our architecture. So all the tweets are coming in, they're being stored in Kafka, and then served up to Spark processor that are applying the model to determine up or down, right? It goes to Redis and it reads some basic reference data that it needs, and then puts the results in Cassandra. What you see now is a visualization dashboard. It's a custom visualizer that our UI engineers wrote, which is reading the data from Cassandra.
Okay.
And so it's one of the open source libraries, and it has a plugin for Cassandra. So you just connect the two together, and as soon as the event with its model gets stored to Cassandra, it immediately gets added to here to the dashboard, and you can see its impact. See how active? Oh my goodness, look. In the span of 1 minute, we got 35 tweets. Anyways, it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
We are concluding this presentation.
Very
I hope
informative.
this was interesting.
Yeah.
And I would encourage you to go to blog.griddynamics.com. Let me just quickly flash this for you. Blog.griddynamics.com. Please go there. So we put a lot of stuff in there. We blog about big data and about search and about data science and machine learning and AI and e-commerce and mobile and whatnot. We are publishing at least several blogs every week. If you go to big data, you will see this whole series of blogs on stream processing. A lot of my slides are really based on the detailed information that's here. If you go to data science, you will actually see this data science kitchen, and we'll talk about the basics of data science. We'll talk about Twitter sentiment analysis specifically. We'll talk about how to understand structure, how to create dictionaries, how to create training and data sets, how to select and evaluate models, and then how to visualize insight with the dashboard that you just saw. So we try to open up everything so that you could kind of see the pieces and how they came together. I encourage everybody to subscribe so that you can get notifications, and like I said, we publish cool content all the time. So thanks for listening.
Thanks for coming.
Very informative.